Rural Americans deserve access to the best of what our nation has to offer, especially health care. Across every state and every community, America's rural hospitals are the first line of defense, protecting our families, neighbors, and loved ones. No matter where you live, hospital care doesn't clock out. They're there 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. Each year, America's over 5,000 hospitals care for millions of patients, providing 24/7 emergency care, delivering babies, cancer treatments, and other life-saving care that patients rely on. Behind every one of those patients are doctors, nurses, and caregivers working tirelessly to keep people healthy and safe. Hospitals are our community's lifelines. They employ our neighbors and keep our families healthy. But now, some in Congress are threatening access to care. Tell Congress, protect patient care to keep America strong. Don't cut rural health care.
Excuse me! Taxi!
This is the 77 WABC minicast.
Well, you guys, joining us now to talk about everything, and there's a lot of big stuff on our plates, of course, is the great Lara Trump. She is host of My View with Lara Trump on Saturdays, 9 o'clock on Fox News. And, Lara, I know there is so much to talk about. First, let's get to, can you believe there were 53 Democrats who couldn't even do, this is the Brian Mast resolution, where he said, just reaffirm essentially that Iran is a state sponsor of terrorism. It's not a trick question. Under Joe Biden, it was virtually unanimous, but they can't even condemn Iran at this moment. It doesn't mean any action. It's shocking, Laura.
Yeah, well, this is when you know, Rita, that their Trump derangement syndrome has reached fever pitch, and they're just a full lost cause. Whenever you are seeming to side with terrorists, which is, I guess, what the Democrats are doing at this point, all because President Trump and his allies in Congress are suggesting the very obvious that Iran is the number one state sponsor of terror anywhere in the world. We know all the proxies across the Middle East, how they spread out, how they infiltrate so much. Whenever you can't even say that, you really have reached an all-time low. But this is nothing new. I mean, look, when Khamenei was killed, you know, you had headlines that really kind of softened what kind of a guy he was. No different than when al-Baghdadi was killed in 2020, thanks to President Trump. They called him an austere religious scholar. This guy was an ISIS leader who was responsible for countless tortures, countless rapes, countless deaths in the most grotesque kind of way of people around the world. Absolutely disgusting that they would come out and call him an austere religious scholar and not call it for what it is. But this is the new Democrat Party, and pay attention, America, because these are the people who want you to put them back in those seats come November of this year. These are the people who think in 2028 that they should get the office of the President of the United States. It is disgraceful that they cannot come out and state the obvious and call a terrorist out when they see it and identify Iran as the number one state sponsor of terror around the world. Crazy.
Well, and Laura, wait till you hear this. This just coming in. We got a little bit of breaking news associated with this.
Breaking news, WABC.
So Zoran Mamdani's wife, Lara, the New York City First Lady, liked a tweet saying, I support it, just so people understand, where they celebrated, this is the day of Hamas's October 7th attack, of course, horrific. There were pictures of the murderous assault on Israel, horrible. And there were people in this tweet saying it's Palestinian resistance, essentially justifying it, if you will, the horrors that day. And she liked it. So, which a lot of people are saying, how could you like a tweet like that, endorsing it, saying it's a good thing? And Zoran Mamdani just came out, and he responded. And he says that post, which resurfaced because it was in 2023, of course, right after the attacks, Laura, it says, the post where it showed his wife liking that tweet, essentially celebrating October 7th. Here's his line. My wife is the love of my life. She's a private person who has held no formal position on my campaign or in my city hall. In other words, he's not condemning it, or he's just saying she can say whatever she wants. She's a private citizen. What's your reaction, Laura?
Yeah, well, we know that whenever you marry someone, you understand who they are. And pretty standard to identify with their beliefs and believe what they do. That's just how it is, and everybody knows that. She here is seeming to celebrate what we saw happen on October 7th. And let me remind everyone, this is innocent women, children, elderly people slaughtered, raped, set on fire, kidnapped. And she thought it was acceptable in some way to go on and say, you know what, I'm going to go on social media and support these kind of actions, all because these individuals happened to be Jewish. This is not about being pro or anti-Israel. This is about being absolutely ghoulish, thinking that it is acceptable to cheer on acts of terrorism, which is exactly what that was. There are no two ways about it on October 7th. And it's a pretty weak statement, I'll say, from the mayor of New York City. We should expect better of our leaders around this country. But when you look at his actions in the past, when you look at the way anti-Semitism has seemed to kind of bubble up, and he hasn't really done much to distance himself from it, I guess maybe we shouldn't be surprised by this. But it's no wonder that Jewish New Yorkers have been absolutely petrified of this guy. If you can't come out and strongly condemn what happened on October 7th in Israel, then, it seems like you are siding with terrorists, which, as we just talked about, seems to be the new face of the Democrat Party.
Yeah, it's interesting because we're not hearing, well, maybe it was ill-advised or ill-timed. It's just essentially she has a right to feel how she feels, and it's okay.
Yeah, which is, I don't know how you are the mayor of a city that comprises the largest Jewish population in our country, and that is your answer to that. There should have been a better response to that. And quite frankly, she should come out herself and say, maybe I like this tweet or this post on social media in error, and I can do better than that. And for all Jewish New Yorkers, I apologize. You got to do better than this. But again, this is kind of what we've come to expect from this party. And look, Zoran Mamdani, you look out in Seattle at the socialist mayor they have out there now. This is who they are, and this is what they want to normalize. And I think New Yorkers especially need to remember that. We never want to get in a bad place like this in New York again. We're trying to get New York City back on track. This is not the way, and what a shame to see something like this happen. Really disgusting.
Yeah, it is. Judge Weinberg.
Lara, good to talk to you again. You're absolutely right. In fact, he says he's a proud Democratic Socialist. Democratic Socialist agenda is from the river to the sea, which is total extermination of the state of Israel and the Jewish people in the state of Israel. It calls for the genocide and the wiping out of that community. That's where the Democratic Socialists proudly hail. And he says he's a proud Democratic Socialist.
Yeah. And isn't it a wonder that he got elected in the city of New York? I think that this speaks to the fact that there are a lot of people who really haven't bothered to educate themselves on what people stand for and what they believe. And we need to start educating ourselves on our elected leaders. It really does matter. And you see the ramifications of it whenever you look at the rise in anti-Semitism in especially a city like New York. But look around America. We have to have elected leaders who are going to condemn this, who are going to slap it down, and who are going to stand up in the face of it, not encourage it from the river to the sea. My God, that we don't know what that means, and that's absolutely atrocious.
And Laura, I don't recall Mayor Mamdani actually condemning October 7th. So this was an ideal time for him to do it, and he didn't do it. So it's clear where he is. He's where his wife is on it.
Yeah, and this is why I think it's so important that we continue as Americans to come out and support the Jewish population in our country. We have to let these people know that they are 100% Americans, are part of our society, that they are welcomed everywhere, that we don't stand for this as a country. You're right. This is a great time for him to come out and let his voice be heard and say, you know what, those attacks should never have happened. I do not support that. Maybe we should remind him that that's something that he should be doing as the leader of New York City.
And Laura, meanwhile, in Washington, the Democrats are holding up funding for the Department of Homeland Security, which would be responsible, for instance, for seeking out sleeper cells and things like that might be dangerous at this time.
Yeah, well, and think about how important this is. My gosh, we all watched over the 4 years that Biden and our quote-unquote border czar, Kamala Harris, what a joke that was, were in charge of this country when they allowed tens of millions of illegal immigrants to pour in Think about the ones who are on the terror watch list that we know about. But imagine how terrifying it is to know the ones that we never heard about, the ones we don't know about, but we know that these people got into our country during that time. Man, this would be a pretty ideal time if you're a terrorist looking to inflict the maximum kind of pain on the American people to do something really crazy. I think we've all been thinking about this for a long time. And I think, whenever people get desperate, they get backed into a corner, they're kind of willing to do anything. And the fact that we don't have full funding and the robust force of our entire Department of Homeland Security at a moment like this is really shameful. But we know who to thank for it. We know it's the Democrats who have, just like in the fall, held up funding for this. And why are they doing it? They're doing it because they don't want voter ID. They don't want proof of citizenship. They will not go along with the Save America Act. They don't want to see that pass. And we all have to ask ourselves why. It's because they want more illegals to come in this country. They want them to be able to vote because they know if we conduct elections fair and square, the ideals of Zoran Mamdani are not going to fly. The Democratic Socialists are not going to get elected in this country. The only way they can win, it seems like, is if they cheat right now. And it feels like to a lot of Americans, that might be the only reason you wouldn't want to get on board with something that 84% of the voting population feels is a good idea, to have voter ID and proof of citizenship all across this country.
Lara, you said it loud and clear. There's got to be no other reason. A good American citizen, all we want is an honest vote. And if you need ID to get on an airplane or get in an office building or whatever, you need ID to vote. I mean, it's plain and simple. I don't understand. The only reason is if they want to cheat.
Yeah, and by the way, John, I'm very proud to say that I got carded last night when I bought a beverage.
Wow! Oh, wow!
Yeah,
you're not 21 yet.
To a certain age.
Congratulations!
You're not 21 yet.
Laura, I don't blame them. You look great.
I just turned 21, John, but they asked me for my ID, and in that moment, I thought, you know what? This is pretty standard, as you say, across America for so many different things. And of course, what is it that the Democrats have tried to argue? They say that if you ask someone for an ID, you are racist. And why is it? Because apparently, if you have a certain skin color, you don't have the ability to figure out how to get an ID. I can't think of a more racist thing to say than that. Every American, as a standard practice, has an ID. This isn't a tough thing, but we know why the Democrats, again, don't want to see this happen. It's because they don't want free, fair, and transparent elections. I'll tell you, I worked very hard in 2024 at the RNC to ensure that election was all on the up and up, and we've got to continue that because it's the foundation of our country.
Absolutely. And Lara, before we let you go, I know you got a big guest tomorrow. You have the Crown Prince, right? Tell us, obviously, Iran, big topic.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's top of mind for everybody right now. We're going to cover everything that's breaking in Iran. I'm going to be doing a live show tomorrow night to make sure that we bring everything to you as it's happening all across the Middle East and as it relates to America. But yes, I have the Crown Prince, Reza Pahlavi, whose family was exiled from Iran 47 years ago. He has said he wants to be the person who helps usher in a new era, that he wants to help transition his people who have been begging for freedom and liberation from this tyrannical regime. He wants to take them into a democratic society, and he wants to be the person to aid them on that. We're going to ask him all kinds of questions about what that looks like, what he's heard from inside Iran, what he's hearing from people all around the world. And I'm excited to talk to him tomorrow night, 9 p.m. I'll see everybody there.
You definitely will. We will all be tuning in because it's awesome.
I will definitely be watching you on Fox News, but I'll be listening to Cousin Brucey on WABC.
As always, John.
and Laura, congrats on getting carded. I'm jealous.
Oh, I know. I'll update you next time. Maybe there will be more.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you so much, Laura. We love you. Have a great show. Thank you. We can't wait to tune in.
Rural Americans deserve access to the best of what our country has to offer, especially health care. Across every state, every community, America's rural hospitals are the first line of defense, protecting our families, neighbors, and loved ones. No matter where you live, hospital care doesn't clock out. They're there 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. Each year, America's over 5,000 hospitals care for millions of patients, providing 24/7 emergency care, delivering babies, cancer treatments, and other life-saving care that patients rely on. Behind every one of those patients are doctors, nurses, and caregivers working tirelessly to keep people healthy and safe. Hospitals are our community's lifelines. They employ our neighbors and keep our families healthy. But now, some in Congress are threatening access to care. Tell Congress, protect patient care to keep America strong. Don't cut rural health care.